So today we've got a Dodge Ram 3500 four-wheel drive with a solid axle in the front. Very common problem on these trucks is death wobble. Get down the road, especially at highway speeds, shakes back and forth real bad, steering wheel shakes. Well, the guy that owns this truck says it's not doing that. But what it is doing is it's wandering on the highway. So it feels like it's in the right rear, and then as it goes a little bit faster, it kind of transitions to the left front. It's not a death wobble, it's not shaking. It's just kind of wandering, kind of like if you're on a dirt road with deep ruts and your tires keep wanting to go down into the rut, into the mud. He said that's what it's feeling like. So what we're going to do is the easy things first, and then check some suspension components to see if we can figure out what's wrong with this truck. Now I've already got this thing on jack stands, and so the first thing I did was, before I jacked it up, was I checked all the tire pressures, checked all the tires and make sure they're okay. You can go inside your door jamb and you can look, and every car will tell you or what PSI that the tire should be. So the rating here on this truck, it says 60 PSI. That's for the front. For the rear, 70 PSI. That's pretty high. So a lot of people that don't know that may run these tires in a heavy duty truck like this. They may run the tires too low on pressure, and that can cause a lot of issues. It's a 3500, a 1-ton gas engine Hemi, not a diesel. So you want to check all the tire pressures, make sure they're good. Then you want to go around and check all the tires, make sure there's nothing obvious going on. You don't have just like a big bulge sticking out of a tire or something like that. If all that's good, then you want to go a little more in depth. You can check steering components. You can grab at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position. You want to act like you're turning the tire. Now I've got it unlocked inside the cab so you can actually turn the tire, but if you turn back and forth like this and your rod ends are moving with the tire movement, then you don't have any wear. Now you want to jack the car up when you do this. You can do it one tire at a time, jack one side up, just grab that tire back and forth. Then you want to check ball joints at the top and bottom. So you grab at 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and you're trying to make the tire tip in and out like this. So you try that nice and tight. Then you want to try to pull and check the hub bearing. You'll pull out, push in, out, and in. Now I've got 4 jack stands, this truck all the way up in the air because it took me a while to figure out what's wrong, but you can do it just one tire at a time. So to give you a little better idea of the components, these are your ball joints here. This is your front tires. This is your tie rod end. This is what is connected. If you'd follow that tie rod all the way across over to there, all the way to the other side, you can see that it connects the right front tire to the left front tire by way of that big long tie rod. Then you have more tie rod ends at the end over there, and then this rod comes all the way up with an adjustment all the way up to your steering box, which is here. So up top, if you look at that shaft right there with the universal joint, that comes from the steering wheel. As you put the steering inputs in, the steering box transitions the steering down into this shaft here, from this shaft to the pitman arm. So you have, this could wear out. You've also got this tie rod in here that goes to your pitman arm. It can wear out. And then the steering goes all the way over to the right wheel, to that steering knuckle over there, and then all the way over to the back over to the driver's side into this steering knuckle here. So you can imagine you've got all these, you got the pitman arm, you've got all these tie rod ends, you got these adjustments. There's a lot of room there, a lot of places that just a little bit of wear can cause issues. And then this sideways shock absorber, if you've never seen one of those, is a steering stabilizer. It'll take out some of the wobble caused by oversized tires or wear in the suspension, things like that. But all this stuff is good. It's nice and tight. I don't see any issues there. Whenever we grab the tire on the top and bottom, we were checking these ball joints at the top and bottom. They're good. Then whenever we pulled the tire in and out, we were checking hubs, and the hubs are good. So I don't see any issues in the front. Let's go to the back. So now let's come to the back of the truck. The suspension in the rear is a lot easier than the front, as you can imagine, because you don't have steering components, and it is another solid axle with old style leaf spring suspension. So you don't have a pan hard bar, things like that to worry about, but things can still happen. So you want to check your bolts, make sure your leaf spring bolts are good, make sure those haven't broken, make sure that the U-bolts, which attach the spring to the axle, make sure they're okay, nothing crazy going on. Look for anything obvious, cracks, anything like that. So want to check the rear leaf spring, bolts look good. And you don't want to check these things first. Like I said, you want to check tires and all that first, because this is quite lengthy. But you can pick it up off the ground like I did, so everything's free floating. Check your shocks. Shocks are old, but they shouldn't cause this issue. Same as the left. You have your bolt for your leaf spring all the way down. Check your shock. This shock's in the front. Can look at it. Check the tightness of that bolt. Check your U-bolt attaching the spring to the axle. While you have the truck on jack stands, you have a lot of room right here, which gives you room to be able to look down and check your U-bolt nuts, make sure they're tight, make sure they're in good condition. So after checking all that, I thought, man, I was hoping this was going to be some kind of easy fix, and maybe something's just absolutely falling apart. Wouldn't be too hard to find. I was thinking I'm gonna have to go a lot more in depth. Well, when I checked the tires, the truck was still sitting with all of its weight. I don't know if the tire wasn't deformed like that or what, but that's another thing about putting them up on jack stands, is you can spin all the tires with no weight. What I found was this tire is bad. If you can see right there, there's a huge bulge in this tire. If you look from this angle, you can see a lot easier. If you look like that, look from here across to here, the tire pretty straight all the way across the tread. As you move the tire forward, now you can see it's getting higher over here and lower over there. That would definitely cause the issues that he's talking about. Even if it didn't cause issues, this is something that needs to be changed. This is a bad situation. So good news for the customer is the steering components are in good shape. He just needs some tires, or at least just one tire. So I'm going to put the spare tire on. I'm going to drive it, see how it feels. Now we got our tire pressure, the correct PSI, 70 PSI, which is, if you look, remember we looked on the door jamb and found out where the pressure is supposed to be, 60 in the front, 70 in the back. Obviously that's for big loads, pulling trailers, hauling a bunch of stuff in the bed of the truck. If your car doesn't have it on the door jamb, it may be in the armrest in between the two front seats. Some manufacturers like Nissan, they put them in there. Kind of strange, but they do. But I want to tell you one thing to also look out for. This is the spare tire. You want to make sure you have the right tire for the vehicle that you have. This is a heavy duty truck. It needs to have a really strong tire, and there's all types of ratings of tires and all that. I'm not going to go into all the details, but one of the things that you can check to make sure you have the right tire for the vehicle that you have on the tire data plate of what size tire it should have and what PSI the tire should have in it. This says 70 in the back. Then you want to look on your tire. Max load rating for this tire is at 80 PSI. So if you put 70 in this, then you know the tire is not overloaded. So let's say 80 PSI max tire, you put 70 PSI in it, like the manufacturer says to do with the truck, then you know this is a good tire for this application. On the other hand, let's look at a tire that was on here. That's an old tire, put in a lot of years of service, as you can tell. So that's probably why it failed, just because it's old, but another reason it could have been overloaded. But if you look closer at this tire, and you'll see max load, 1250 kilograms or 2,756 pounds. Max pressure, 44 PSI. So this tire is not rated for this vehicle. Now if all you're gonna do is ride this vehicle around, you're never gonna put a big load in it, pull big trailers, goosenecks, things like that, then it may not be that big of a deal. Keep it at 44 PSI and know that your tires aren't gonna be overloaded, because the truck is not heavy enough to overload all the tires. But if you're gonna do any type of hard work with it, which most people do with a truck like this, you gotta make sure you have the correct rated tires. So now let's take it for a test drive and see how good it rides. All right, so let's get it out on the highway. Get it up to highway speeds, about 40 miles an hour, everything feels good. Feels like a typical heavy duty truck. Want to get it all the way up to about 70 miles an hour, make sure we don't have any big shaking. All right, up to full speed, 70 miles an hour. I don't feel any problems. So with that, we have another car fixed, another happy customer. Always remember to check your tires. You want to make sure your tires are in good condition, make sure they're the right tire for the vehicle that you're in. And if you have any issue like that, shaking, feel like something's not right in the steering, check your tires first. You never know. Thank you for watching this video, and we hope you have a great day.